Hi, folks. Back again. Today, we're going to be working on evaluating expressions. Now, this lesson should be a review for you, but I'm going to include some specifications that I want you to pay attention to. You need a pencil, note 0, and notes 3. So we're going to be evaluating expressions using substitution and applying the integer rules to that. So we have two vocabulary words that you're going to need to know. Substitute is to replace an unknown with a known value, and evaluating is to find or calculate the value of the expression when the unknown is replaced by a given number. And substitute and evaluate are usually direction words. Pause the video and write these two vocabulary words with definitions and examples down on your note 0. All right, so evaluating expressions. An expression is a number phrase, and we already talked about what substitution means. The important part here is when you substitute, you always need to use parentheses and bring down the signs. The reason for the parentheses is this. Let's say we had A minus B, where A equals 4 and B equals -2. What a lot of students will do as a mistake is this. Hence the reason for the parentheses. This negative sign is the same, but B is -2. So really, we are creating a double sign expression. So then our expression should say 4 plus 2, and so then our correct answer will be 6. If you use parentheses, you're going to avoid a lot of those pitfalls for substituting and simplifying expressions. So we're going to do a couple together, and then you're going to try a couple on your own. So let's take a look at number 1. X minus 4a plus y. If x is 4, a is -2, and y is 5. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to use parentheses and substitute. So we have x as 4 minus 4, because that's a coefficient, times a, which is -2, and then the plus sign, y is 5. Now we're going to use order of operations to simplify. We know we need to do the multiplication first. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 2 is positive 8. Then everything else comes down. And now we just have addition. 4 plus 8 plus 5, which is 17. We're going to do also number 3 together, and then you're going to pause the video and do 2 and 4. So here we go. X squared plus y cubed. So we have a little bit of exponent work here, which we'll get to on these notes as well. So x squared, so that's 3 squared, plus y, which is -2 cubed. Now, we know that 3 squared is 3 times 3, and -2 cubed is -2 times -2 times -2. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus negative times negative times negative would be a negative. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. This is our 1. We'll simplify our double sign to get us an answer of 1. Pause the video and do number 2. Welcome back. Let's see if you did this correctly. X was -1, y was -6, plus y is -6, and a is 2. -1 times -6 is +6. The plus sign comes down. -6 times 2 is -12. We simplify our double sign. Different signs, subtract and keep the sign of the higher number. We get -6. Did you get it right? Great. The next pop-up question will ask you for your answer on number 4. So try number 4 and then answer the pop-up question that's going to come right now. All right. Let's try one more. Number 5. On number 5, we see absolute value. You're going to substitute into the absolute value and treat it like parentheses. So here we go. A is -2 minus parentheses B is -4. divided by C again, which is -2. So we need to simplify our double sign. So we have the absolute value of -2. This becomes +4 absolute value divided by -2. Again, we're treating the absolute value like parentheses, so we're working with that first because it's first in order of operations. Different sign subtract, keep the sign of the higher number. Now that we have one single number in the absolute value, we can find its absolute value. So the absolute value of 2 is 2 divided by -2. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. Go ahead and do 6, 7, and 8, and you'll check those in class. One more with absolute value, number 9 here. So we have M. The M is right next to the absolute value, which means it's being multiplied, just like if there was a number in front of parentheses. So we have M is -3, the absolute value of 5 minus 2 times N, which is -1, minus parentheses -7. We got a lot to simplify here. So we need to work on those parentheses first. Whoops. So we have the absolute value of 5. We're going to do our multiplication, becomes positive. And then again, we have that -1 in there. So now we have +7. Let's simplify the absolute value even more and bring everything else down. Now, what is the absolute value of 7? It's 7. Still have multiplication to do. Negative times positive is a negative. And now we have different sign. Subtract, keep the sign of the higher number. So 21 minus 7. You can't do that in your head. You could always write it out. $14. What should the sign be? Take the sign of the higher number. -14. Now let's talk about exponents. An exponent is repeated multiplication. And I know you've seen exponents before, but I just want to clarify one specific rule. When there's an exponent of 2 outside of parentheses, this expression means -5 times -5. And that would get us positive 25. However, when there's no parentheses, like you see in example B, the exponent is only on the number that it's touching. So again, in A, the exponent is squaring the negative sign and the 5. But on B, since there's no parentheses, that squared is only on the 5. So that means 5 times 5. And the question is, what is that negative sign? Well, before, remember, when we learned that there was a negative sign in front of parentheses, something like this, we knew that that was a -1. And that's the exact same idea here. So this negative sign is really telling you to multiply that product of 5 and 5 times -1 to give you a final product of -25. So our explanation is in words is when the sign and value use parentheses, the exponent applies to both. But if there are no parentheses, square the value, then multiply by -1. So let's try 2 more examples, and then you'll try 2 on your own. So let's try C. So C says -4 squared, but there's no parentheses. So that means 4 times 4 times negative 1. So what's this product? It's going to be negative 16. On D, we have the sign and the value in parentheses, so we're actually squaring both the sign and the value, so we'll end up with a positive value. Try E. So we'll have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, because both the sign and the value are in parentheses. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. We bring down the third negative 2, and we end up at negative 8. And finally, F. The 2's being cubed, but not the sign. So we have 3 2's being multiplied together times negative 1. So we have 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8, times negative 1 also gives us negative 8. On C and D, we have even exponents, and on E and F, we have odd exponents. Do you notice a pattern? Right, if the exponent is even, those answers will be different, like C and D. But on E, I mean different signs. On E and F, if the exponent is odd, both expressions will end up being the same product. Last review topic is finding the mean. The mean is the average of the data set. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this. So add all the values together, then divide by the number of terms. So we're going to do the example together, and then you're going to try the you-try problem on your own. So find the mean of the data set. So first I'm going to add all the numbers in my data set. So negative 8 plus 9 plus 3 plus 4 plus negative 13. And I'm going to divide by the number of terms. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. Now I'm going to simplify. So maybe I'll take 2 at a time. So we have negative 8 plus 9, different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the higher number. So we have 1. Maybe I'll take these 2 next. 3 plus 4, same sign, add and keep the sign. And I know I have a double sign over here. So that positive times a negative should be a negative 13. I'm going to bring down my 5. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to come over here. One more time. So we have 1 plus 7, same sign, add and keep the sign. So we have 8 minus 13 divided by 5. And then our last step, different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the higher number. 8 minus 13 is negative 5 divided by 5. And finally, our quotient is negative 1. You find the mean of the data set here that says you try. The pop-up question will be for you to give the mean of that data set. Hope this was a little bit of good review for you. See you next time.